pleasure it is to drive this thing. We've done everything else. To get the braking better, we put the Telma system electric brakes in it. To keep the engine from straining, we put a gear vender's overdrive unit in it. But we never did anything about power steering, and it really required two hands all the time. Okay, now you're I mean, you really got to pull. Welcome to an episode of Jay Leno's Garage Restoration Blog. This is my 1941 American LaFrance Fire Truck V12. This is the very first vehicle we shot for Jay Leno's Garage. You can go back and look at it, see a much younger version of myself. You can have a little black in my hair. That's how long it's been. Fun vehicle. We've made it a motorcycle transporter. Well, you can watch that whole video and learn about it. But one thing that has not changed, it's almost impossible to steer. Besides being almost 70 years old, over 70 years old, you know, I think sometimes the heavy grease, everything you steer, it just contributes to making it tougher and tougher to steer. Plus, you get older, these kind of things will break your back. Luckily, there are people that make power steering conversions. I heard about one locally here called e-Power Steering down in Ramona, California. You know, there's so many guys that have little businesses and little shops that maybe you don't hear about, and that's what's fun about this website. We get to expose them to more people, help them get a bit more business, and they make a conversion. It's a little complicated. We were going to do it here, but I figured let's bring them up and have them show us the correct way to do it. So if we screw it up, it's not their fault. It's our fault. Okay. Ken, come on in. Ken Rosenbush. Ken, good to see you. e-Power Steering is the name of the company. Yes. In Ramona, California. Okay. Is this something you developed yourself?
No, we didn't do this. I have a dune buggy that we ride out in the sands and the Glamis and that kind of stuff. And I was driving around manual steering and it hit a sandwich, and it almost pulled the steering wheel out of my hand. Right. And I said, I got to figure this out. So we looked at hydraulic, we looked at different options, and I found some guy on the internet that was taking them from another car. This was a car in Europe. They took it out of a Corsa. Right. So Corsa B, you know, those small cars. Right. They take it out of that and they modify it a little bit in order to make the electronics still work. And we put that into, I put it into my dune buggy.
So it's electric power steering, not hydraulic.
Okay, right. Yeah. We looked at the hydraulic, but usually there's lines, there's a pump, and it's usually a mess. Yeah. So the leaking on it, all this stuff. So what we did is we found out that they were doing this option. I put it in my dune buggy, and a buddy of mine saw it and says, hey, how did you do it? Before you know it, it's just sort of snowballed, and we got more and more people that were interested in this. And I said, why not create a business for it? So it's not like we designed the steering unit. Right,
but you perfected it and made it practical.
Yeah, we make it so that so someone else can adapt it to their vehicle.
Now here's what I said. You said and you hit a sandwich. What kind of sandwich? Was it a ham and cheese? What kind of sandwich did you hit?
Yeah, and it was actually a witch eye, but
a what?
It's actually a witch's eye, but not a sandwich.
A witch's eye. What's a witch's eye?
A witch's eye is a spot in the dune that's actually dug out a little bit, so that when you're going over the top of it, you hit into it, and you can actually, you know.
So you learn something every day. Yes. You don't want to eat the witch's eye, but you want to eat the sandwich. But when you're driving, hitting the sandwich is really not that big a deal. Hitting the witch's eye, that's a complicated one. All right, very good, my friend. Okay, very cool. And this is the unit here?
Yeah, so this comes out of a Chevy Equinox. So it's around a 2005, 2006 generation steering unit. Originally designed by Koyo, and they're now owned, new names called J-Tech.
So this is an existing power steering unit
out of an American car, DOT compliant, that still can get parts for.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay.
So even if you had to get a part and a spare for it, you can go online.
And you modified it for this application.
Yes,
well, that's great. That's great. Have you done quite a few of these? Has this turned out to be a popular business for you?
About 10,000.
Wow.
10,000.
Wow.
And all the way from the do-it-yourselfers that want to be able to say, hey, I can do this myself, I can fabricate, I can weld, I just need sort of the technology. So if you go to our website, we talk about the do-it-yourselfers and the parts that you can get. Like all what you see right here, these are all pieces and parts. Plus, you can go to the salvage yard and go to pick apart and pull the steering unit out. And with the kits that we provide, the instructions and that kind of stuff, you can do it yourself.
Oh, that's great. And of course, it runs off your power supply 12-volt battery.
Yeah.
And we've got 4 batteries in this thing, so we've got plenty of power for that. All right, very good. Oh, and it can handle, I mean, in a Chevy, that's about 3,300 pounds. This is no problem though. Huh?
Right. But you think about really what we're doing here is providing assist. So
Right.
if you got a big steering wheel on it, you change it down to here, it's very difficult to steer, right? So now I'm giving you assist by giving a bigger steering wheel, right? But so same thing that we're doing here is we're providing an electric motor that senses that torsion, and that torsion of the steering wheel turn and the tires will say, hey, we're going to provide an assist. So it goes up 700 watts is what's the output of the motor.
Right.
That's about 1 horsepower. So if you think about adding 1 horsepower to a steering wheel, that's tremendous.
I guess that's true, isn't it? And it involves, see, I thought the old days, I thought the way you did it was you somehow adapted using dampeners or something, but you actually have to cut the steering column, correct?
Correct.
And make it an integral part of the steering column. So we have the panel off here so you can see, here's the steering box right here, and it will go right in here, correct?
Correct.
So we're not under the dash, we're under the hood.
It depends on the application.
Right.
Where, the classic vehicle, you want to put it where it's not seen, right? So you can put it underneath there.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the applications we've been doing lately, Civics and Subarus and Mazdas, RX-7s, all those kind of cars, if you look at where their steering unit is, we put it up under the dash. You actually have to get below the seat, look up to even be able to see it. So,
well, you must get a lot of old guys like me that have 50s cars. Many do not have power steering, and this has got to be a godsend because it just shaves you.
You're my typical customer, 70 years old. And
with a TV show.
And a 50 Chevy, because those are guys that they drove that car, they want to still be able to drive it, and their shoulders are weakening up a little bit. So by giving it that 1 horsepower, now they can still drive it.
Well, what we did, when we found out about your unit, we 3D printed a version because we wanted to see if it would actually fit in here. Let me get that. Let me bring this over here. That's the great thing about 3D printers. You can just bang something out just to see if there's actually room. And there's actually room. It'll go right up in here, right? Right about that. Yeah, of course. That's it. Okay, there you go. So it'll fit right in there. All right, very good. Let me ask you about some of the other items you have. Obviously, you saw the motor. Is this a controller unit?
So what you're looking at here is there's a circuit board that sits in behind here, and it's just a 10K pot. And what we do is that 10K pot gives the driver the ability to turn this knob up and down. Most cars have an ABS sensor, tells how fast they're going, and that's a key component in order for the steering unit to understand the speed that you're going, because the slower you go, the more assist you need. The faster you go, the less assist you need.
Now, so obviously it doesn't have ABS. So do I have to adjust that as I'm driving?
So most of our customers, what they do is they get that happy zone for driving on, let's say, 20 miles an hour to 50 miles an hour. You get that happy zone, right? And then just like when you're shifting it to reverse when you have to make a turn, you're going to say, hey, okay, I'm going real slow now. I can turn it all the way up and give it more assist for that kind of stuff.
Now, what if I leave it all the way up all the time?
It's too much, and maybe not on this vehicle, but a lot of times it's so touchy that it would be disconcerting.
But I'm not likely to burn out the unit or draw too much power.
No, it's not like that. It's just while you're driving at highway speeds, it's a little twitchy. And that's why we want a little more of the dampening for that.
Well, this has electric brakes. We put the Telmic unit in this thing, which you adjust, which is the same kind of thing. It's like a rheostat. It applies more and more pressure. So that's easy enough to figure out.
And what's nice about this, we've had a bunch of a racing crew out there, racing teams, and they want to be able to adjust it on the fly. So actually, with a Haltech computer, you can create a 5-volt signal. So you take the pot off, you put a 5-volt signal, 0 to 5 volts, and now you can program the speed, the amount of assist that you want to do. So we've had a bunch of people have asked us and that. So we've helped them out by making a racing.
And this is a piece you guys developed, correct?
Yes, correct.
Same thing with the box here?
This actually comes right on it. So if you see this is the 3D mock-up of the steering unit that you would pull out of that junkyard. Right? So you can see what we've done to it.
This goes right here?
Yep, that's that part. So what you see here is, what makes this application tough for a lot of things is that the steering shaft that's on here, it's odd. So what we do is we cut this thing down and we sell a stub shaft. And that stub shaft is welded on here. So making it shorter here makes that installation, that application so much easier. And then, of course, we take the ECU and we relocate it, because it would have been here like this. And the problem with that is that it's going to get in your shin or some other engine part that's going to be in the way. So we can relocate this, remount this. And right now you see that we've got a Deutsch connector that connects the where this would have connected before, right? So that this could be mounted underneath the dash, where that could still get mounted in the engine bay.
All right, well, let's see. And this obviously.
Sweet U-joint, they're the names out there in the products. And some of the other different brackets that we've had, where we have, this is a very common bracket that's used on a lot of the dwarf cars, sprint cars. So they mount this thing underneath the dash and that supports it here. And we have same other things. These are just the pieces and parts that we have designed over the years in order to make these custom kits we have.
Yeah, no, it's great. You know, I got so many friends that have like 46 Dodge Power Wagons. They just, you know, you just can't turn the thing. It's just crazy. So, yeah, this is going to be a godsend. I'm really, because that's really the only thing that's inhibited me from driving this, especially in town. You literally have to go and just to try and park it. It's hilarious. So, good. Well, I'm excited. Let's get. Are we ready to get started?
I do, but I'm not the installer. I'm really more of the
brains behind the outfit.
Right now, right. I'm more of the guys that I'm a facilitator.
Right.
Because I get the call from a guy that's the 7-year-old guy with a 50 Chevy, and he wants to talk to me on the phone, tell me about his classic car, and he says, I still want to drive it. And then we talk, and we start talking about having this conversation about what does it take to make it happen. And I make them comfortable with that, and that's really, that gets them going, right?
You're like the fluffer. Yeah, I got you.
Right.
All right, well, very good, very good. All right, you got somebody with us that's going to help us out?
I brought somebody that's done some of our installations with us, and Rob Morris from RLM.
Rob, how you doing, my friend?
Pleasure to meet you.
Good to see you.
You're second.
Hi,
Ken. Good to see you, buddy.
because I really want to step away anyways.
What's your general amount of time to do an installation like this?
The last one I did was 2 days.
About 2 days, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Do you recommend having a professional installer like yourself do it, or is this something that
Just depending on your skill level.
Yeah, okay.
If you've done the build up to that part, most people would be capable of continuing it. What led me to this, I researched same unit. I had a customer having the same issues you were, so I wanted to find something. So that's where I found Ken, and then really it's on my first restoration. And I installed the unit, and it's everything Ken says it does. It really makes a big difference.
Well, it's great, and I love the fact that he's using existing parts. It's already DOT approved. You know, a lot of times so much stuff comes from foreign countries, and you don't know. There's some internal piece that's plastic that should be metal, you know. So the nice thing, you're starting with something strong and good. All right, well, let's get started.
Sounds good.
All right.
Ready?
Got it.
Perfect. Let's see what we got going on at the top. All right, hold it right there. Let me see if I can tap that down. Yeah, it's not moving.
So it doesn't spin off. It must pull off.
Well,
It's a little jiggling. I think it's just got some of the gunk in there.
yeah. Let me get these shims. I don't want to tear the shims.
There you go.
Yeah, you got it. Hopefully it fits through there.
It's not going to fit through
Not
there,
gonna
though.
fit through there. And it's welded.
It's welded on?
No,
Okay.
I don't know about this to the shaft, but the plate down there is welded to the firewall. I usually just figure out where you're gonna mount it, go to the center, cut that outer tube, and pull it out because we can always cut again. We may have to pull that out,
Yeah.
put your rags in, then we can rotate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before you pull it out, let's hold this in there and double check again. So that's about halfway. So that tube, if we put that cut there,
It's going to be a cop wheel.
we're just gonna do a center cut to this, and then we'll have to come back and cut it again.
Twist it up.
One piece.
Oh, now that's interesting. That'd be good to have.
There it is.
And we want,
Then all you have to do is just tack that here under the spots.
Just figure out where we need to cut this again. We'll do that on the lathe.
And then all we do is we drill one hole here so where we can get through here where that set screw is going to go. You're just saying how much you want it to move.
Oh, 180 degrees.
More?
Oh, hold it right there. Turn it back the other way a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, right there. Okay, that's good.
got it. Cool.
So funny, as you were rotating it, the shaft would kind of come up and out like it's like the worm gear's driving it up. Yeah. So that leads me to believe it could.
I know.
Not just pull out because the worm gear itself is going to hold it on, but pull out as it's turning.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's unscrewing itself, you know?
So we're going to put something that's going to slide down over here.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, we made a coupler for that. Good.
Did I see any picture of that?
There it is.
Why'd you take it out?
We're going to make a coupler on it. That way it can't work its way up out.
Will it come out that far?
It's not coming out
It
anymore.
come out a little bit.
There it is. That's a baby.
I pulled the sector shaft out this
Okay.
way,
Oh,
and that gave me enough clearance to bring it out.
Okay. Yeah, and you know, I was concerned about all that gunk that was on the top side of, here. In fact, you can feel.
Still feel pretty gritty in there.
Yeah, so it's probably a good idea to get
Yeah.
Four arms in there.
Yep. There we go.
Which one are you doing?
This closest to the engine.
Got it?
Yep. Solid.
Perfect. Get out of there.
I think Rob is just finishing up. Rob, how are we doing?
Well, not bad. How are you?
Looks great. That looks terrific. Thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, you know, this is a unit you can do yourself. Normally we do this stuff at the shop, but Rob has had some experience with these units. We'd never done one before, and the idea of cutting the steering column really sort of frightened me. That was the thing.
Well, scary part.
Because I thought it was a unit you just kind of bolt in. It somehow uses a stabilizer bar and moves, so I thought, oh, let's bring somebody who has done this. And other people want help with this. You can do theirs as well, right?
Sure, yeah.
Well, let's put Rob's website. You'll see it up here in just a second. If you want to get in touch with them, let them know. And they're pretty, that's not crazy expensive. How much is the kit?
I was seeing around 700.
About $700, and you can get a used one of these from just about anywhere, right?
Yeah,
Or a brand new one if you want.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, let's fire it up and see how it works. I'm anxious.
Sounds good.
Because this was impossible to steer. You know, I love this vehicle, but it really was just, I mean, sometimes Dave was with me, the two of us, and both doing like, just a nightmare. So I can't imagine how much more fun it's going to be now. Let's give it a shot.
All right.
It's amazing. The unit is only 1 horsepower, but it does an amazing job. You can do one finger driving. It's amazing. Of course, one finger driving means something completely different in Los Angeles. But for this, let's just say one finger, you can steer this thing. Oh, this is just fantastic. I can now use this as an everyday car. Don't even think about parallel parking this thing before we put the electric unit in. Just the slightest effort. Boy, it really makes it fun to drive. I want to thank Rob and Ken for this e-power steering unit. Boy, it's really terrific. Again, if you like to have Rob put this in for you because he knows what he's doing, you've got all my information on the video. Just take a look. So, thanks again. Very cool. Let's see what else we got going. Well, since this is a restoration blog, you're probably wondering why I have a brand new car. This is a 2024 Rolls-Royce Spectre. But you know, the longer you keep a car looking good, the less restoration you're going to have. I mean, I've owned cars, some cars I've had for 40 years. And if you just maintain certain regiment, you know, keeping it clean, it's less restoration work. What we're going to do now is put a protective film on this car. This is a business that's just exploded in the last decade or so, only because it's just a perfect way to keep a car looking nice. My friend Ryan Townsley from Protective Film Solutions. Now, he's been doing my cars now for 10 years. And I got to admit, I was a little skeptical at the beginning. Well, you're putting a big plastic, what is that? You know, and in the old days, they used to yellow and they used to kind of peel up and there were a lot of problems. But it's gotten so amazingly good, I can't even tell. I see cars all the time at the car show. I actually have to go down here and look at the lip to see the
Try to
bottom.
find an edge.
Yeah, it is. And there's a lot of myths about this as well. Like when I first heard about it, 3M did all the plastic.
They originally came up with it. Yes.
Right. But since that time, so much has happened. Like every other business, exponentially, it just keeps getting better and better and better. What is the film you're using now?
So what we've been using for a long time now is the Expel paint protection film, like the orange peel. Most people don't know what orange peel is in clear coat.
Right.
But the film is manufactured to have the top coat or the finish to look just like the factory orange peel. So when we do your fender, but we don't do your door, you can't tell the difference between the two of them.
And even automobile paint, and we all remember, at least I do, Earl Shive painting. People don't realize automobile paint is now $60 a quart, I think. I can't imagine what it is for Rolls. It's probably way more than that.
Crazy expensive for the Rolls.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. So you want to protect it as best you can. That's why I'm going to put this on here. And you're going to see the process, how they put it on, how long it takes. We'll do it in real time. And so by the end of the day today, we should have it done. And it lasts, well, you did my P1 McLaren, that's going on 10 years now.
We did the F1,
right.
We did the P1,
right.
We did the Ford GT,
right.
And now we're doing
this one. So listen, I'll let you guys go to work and we'll follow the process. It's pretty fascinating. Ryan, thanks.
All right, thanks, Jay. Thank you.
This is my 1970 Monteverdi Swiss-made sports car. We did a video on this 11, 12 years ago. It's been a great car. Has a Chrysler 440 engine, a 4-speed. As I mentioned before, it's a hybrid, and hybrid used to mean American powertrain with European styling and suspension and brakes. It was a pretty good deal. I mean, you got American reliability and American horsepower in a European sports car. The clutch blew about a year and a half ago, and it was slowly wearing out, just slipping and slipping, and finally we said, well, let's replace it. But it was an engine out job, and at that point we had a bunch of broken steam cars, a lot of other stuff. So when we finally got around to it, George and the crew pulled the engine and transmission out about a week ago, and we ordered a brand new TKX transmission from Tremec. You know, the original transmission in this car, the problem was it was just rough in gears, and the synchros weren't right. And you know, I love the Tremec products. We put one in my Maserati, works fantastic. We put it in the hot rods and other cars we built. They're really good. I'll show you that in just a second. I'm not restoring this car. I'm just kind of fixing things as they break. We've cleaned up the engine bay here a little bit. We put a new brake master and reserve on there. The other one was all yellowed and dirty, so that's not a big deal. But everything else about it's pretty good. It's been a very reliable car, with the exception of the transmission. Still got the original radiator, but MSD unit ignition in here. Come on, let's show you this Tremec. It's pretty cool. First, let me show you the original transmission. This is the one that came out of it. Big cast iron Chrysler unit here. It served us well, but the Tremec is a 5-speed, and you know, it's just so nice to have something that shifts like butter. Come on, I'll show you this. Here's George has got the 440 here. We haven't done anything to the engine. It's no trick cams or any of that. It's a nice original unit, 375 horsepower, which is pretty good for 1970. It's basically a road runner that went to college, you know. When you got any of the big high-performance Chrysler products, if you didn't get the Hemi, you got the 440. And that's what this is, with the manual gearbox. And this is their bell housing, right, George? Because the original one, we couldn't bolt up to that, so we had to get the modified one.
It actually would have bolted up to it, but the cast iron bell housing, you could moor a cruise ship with that thing.
Yeah.
It was so heavy.
Yeah.
So
this is aluminum.
yeah, it's still a heavy part. It's very heavy duty and strong.
And the nice thing is with these Tremec units, no matter where your gearbox is, towards the firewall, further back, off to the side, it's all adjustable here, isn't it? You can put this, you can even put it here, you can put it back here, and then you've got all kinds of levers and things to make it easily adjustable.
Right. Yeah, you can go ahead, back, left, right, and at this angle, you can flip this around to move the shifter back more. With your side loader gearbox, the shifter with the shift rods is going to be over here. This is about where it's going to land.
Yeah. And the nice thing is, it's perfect. You don't have to touch it. You know, there's nothing more heartbreaking than doing a whole restoration and then realize the guy who put the synchros in your old Chrysler gearbox didn't do it right, and you got to pull the whole thing apart. They should bolt right up. It's probably cheaper than rebuilding one of those units.
Well, you know, I mean, and one thing about your old gearbox, I remember it was notchy, and we put MTL in it, and that almost fixed it.
Yeah.
And it's just the shift rails and everything, and you know, going from any other transmission to a Tremec, it's just click, click. It's so nice the way they shift.
Right.
The engine was just overhauled by Aerosol. We looked at the cam.
Yeah.
Ceramic coated the manifolds, which were aluminized. They look better black, I think.
Yeah.
So when it goes, you cannot do a clutch with the engine in the car.
Right.
You have to pull engine and trans. You can't change the drive shaft without pulling the engine and transmission forward.
And we will have to get a different drive shaft because this transmission is a little shorter or longer.
Right. That we're going to add 3 inches to that, and we're going to change the yoke, which is 31 spline on a Tremec.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that is, but it won't just plug in.
You know, George mentioned MTL, manual transmission loop. I'm not a big fix a car in a can thing, but it really is works amazingly well. This transmission was like, it really made the car such a chore to shift because you had to do this all the time. We put the MTL in. It didn't fix it, but it improved it 80%, 85%. It was like, oh, instead of like pulling out a little, you could feel the notch as opposed to having to overpower the notch. So if you can't put a transmission, try MTL. That stuff works pretty good.
It does.
But the Tremix, it's just amazing how good they are. Yeah, I know this sounds like an ad, but it's really not. We try to only promote things that we actually use here, and this is what we use, you know. And you know, we're not doing beer and wine and all kinds of stuff. We're just doing products that we actually use. Although George uses quite a bit of beer and wine, actually. So
Yeah.
he could do that for you. But anyway, all right. Well, this goes in the car, and we'll do updates on this as we go along. And so that's pretty much the update for now. We'll have another one of these for you in another 2 months or so. See you then.